Welcome to Spk Our Minds community podcast, sharing the views and opinions of local residents in Camden.
Actually, I find it very easy because I'm quite a very popular face. Because I was born and brought up here, plus I work as well in a retail sector where everyone sees me every day. I'm in everyone's face every day. So for me, making connections is easy.
How was lockdown for you? How did that?
A topic. Lockdown for me, I would say it was very bad. Considering that who suffers from anxiety, that made it very, very worse. So even though the whole world, you can say, was under a global lockdown, but I just found it very, very hard because the anxiety just went worse. And this anxiety started during 2009, and I managed to control it by going to doctor's therapy and everything, and then everything was fine after that. But as soon as when lockdown started, when the pandemic started, I think that year it took a 360 turn for me, where the anxiety came back and it got worse. And then when I get the anxiety where I have to go out the house, even if it's for a 5-minute walk or a 10-minute walk, but I cannot be in four walls. That's how bad it was. Like, when you hear stories where people were eating, it came to a point where I couldn't even drink a sip of water, or I couldn't eat because it was that stressful for me. Considering I'm a people's person, I like socializing, I like going out, So yeah, it was hard. It was very, very hard.
Must have been hard not seeing your friends, not being communicating, not going out.
Exactly. I mean, like everyone, saying video call, and you're doing the FaceTime and you're doing the odd phone calls here and there, but it's not the same seeing your loved ones face to face. So it was hard. And I think what really motivated me throughout the whole entire lockdown was on my work, and that really diverted me, and I think that really got me throughout the whole 2020 to 21. So if I wasn't working, and I don't know what would have happened to me, to be honest. I don't know, but I think I'm thankful to the job that I have, and the retail sector was quite busy as well, because I'm a manager of a supermarket, and believe me, it was hard during those times.
Totally
But
understand.
I think work actually gave me that motivation to divert my mind, and really helped me as well.
I'm sorry that you've experienced that, and it's nice to hear that it's getting better now. So, in community-wise, what do you think is missing from the community, or what is needed in the local community to encourage or nurture creativity within the community?
I think Camden is a big area, and there is a lot you can do, but I think what is missing maybe is if people can get together and you become one unity, you can do a lot. You see people amongst themselves, like there's a group here, there's a group there, but if you stick together, you can do a lot. Like when you walk, you see there's so many spaces empty. If the community gets together, you can make use of it. During the lockdown, things were closed and stuff, but parks were open. You can use that space to do a lot of things, like continue with your normal life kind of thing. So I think if the community becomes a bit more stronger, then you can do a lot.
Is there currently anything happening? Would you know any organizations or any community organizations or events or resident organizations that's actually doing anything, or are you?
There's so many community centres in the borough, so there are a lot of things that people are providing to what they can do, to be honest. So it's just about you going out there and finding the resources and stuff. But there is a lot. It's just,
So you have to go out there to find it. Isn't it like this? Does that mean the information is not provided, or is not enough information there for people to just to find out and know what's going on? rather than going out, because it's going to be hard for some people to go out and find.
It is. I mean, like, it is going to be hard for a lot of people to, you know, when you go out and get your information. But I'm afraid most of the community centres are like that because few people are not providing the services. A lot of people are at home. So for them, like, how are you going to get your information? Because a lot of people don't have access to the internet, social media. I mean, like, you know, there's so much you can. People who have access, they can get it, but there's a lot of people who don't.
There is a big, you know.
Yeah, so a lot of people are lacking on that.
Excluded. So. They're not on social media. Yeah. There's a big exclusion on that end. They're not able to use it as well.
So in that sense, I think, like, you know, if like I said, coming back to the community, like if they come together and you say what you need, like if you have a community centre or whatever in the area, you know, go there, tell them, look, give me this, give me that. You know, because of the people, you make that place. Without the people, you're not gonna you're not gonna run the place by yourself, are you? Because it's the people that makes the centre, not.
Is anything currently happening exciting? Do you know? Or just happening, not exciting.
Exciting. I can't see anything that's really exciting, to be honest.
Do you have any ideas how they can, you know, the organizations can come do creative stuff or big, you know?
I think with organizations, like, you might, if you have a good networking system and you have a good connection with that, so I think one organization can share their ideas and you can get their ideas as well and bring it together. So that's how you get your, you know, networking. If you have a good team, then you can get a lot of resources, a lot of information, come up with new things what to do.
So what do you think is missing? Did we talk about that in our local community?
I don't think there's missing.
What do you feel that if you feel if there's anything missing?
No, I don't think really. But I mean, like I said, like they've given all the support they can give. But like I said, if you don't raise your voice, I think you won't get what you want. So I would say to the people, like, talk. If you need something, raise your voice. Don't be afraid, and you'll get the support or the help or the advice that you would need. So,
who do you raise your voice to? That would be not a lot of people would come to.
No. Like I said, going back to the resources, isn't like, you know, if you don't talk, you won't know. So, I think sometimes you just have to use your initiative. Just go and find your way. Like, you know, because no one's, unless you don't do it yourself, no one will do it for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes of Spk Our Minds podcast. Welcome to Spk Our Mind community podcast, sharing the views and opinions of local residents in Camden.
Been coming to Camden on and off. I'm originally from Milton Keynes. First time I came to Camden, I think I was homeless in Camden for about a year. I used to sleep under the bridge where the canal is. So I've got an affinity with Camden, and after that I worked in Escapade, a fancy dress shop. There's a lot of, I don't want to go on about every single story I've got related to Camden, but yeah, I've lived in Camden on and off for about, I'd say about 7 years. Yeah.
So how do you find making new connections in your local area? How do you find it?
I find it really cliquey. I don't know whether it's about me and how I approach people, or if I'm not asserting myself in the right ways, but I like to think that I do. I've worked, I've gone to yoga classes, I talk to people. What I find in my local area, I live in a hostel, and the only friends that I seem to have are people from that hostel. So if I go out for a little walk, usually bump into them. It's hard to meet other people because when they're in their area with their friends and their little social circles, they seem to want to protect that, and it's hard to penetrate it and work your way into it. I find that, I don't know, it could be a bit more open. I think it's a cultural thing. I think England in the older days, maybe the 60s, the 70s, people were offering each other cups of tea left, right and centre. It was a form of charity, but now it's more, I don't know, even though there's so many things that we can do on apps and meet each other, I find it to be a bit empty. So to answer that question, I find it difficult personally. Yeah.
So you find it difficult to make friends or connect with people?
No, connecting to people's easy. Like, you can go to a shop, talk to the shopkeeper, a bit of banter, have a laugh. I'm good at that. That's fine. But it's about the consistency of it. So it's not like these people are inviting you to a barbecue or to do what they're doing. And if I try to open up and say, hey, do you want to come and do what I like to do, or which is go see an old film at a cinema or anything like a martial arts class or something like that, people have been a bit reluctant to join me in what I'm doing. So I just end up getting left alone a lot of the time and doing it myself like a lone wolf, which is fine. I've learned how to live with that, but it's the follow through. It's the, can I have your number? Call them the next day. What are you up to? Like, it's that part that I struggle with, because I'm good at meeting people face to face, talking to them, stranger this, stranger that, blah blah blah. But yeah, well, I've had to come through mind to be able to do that. So it's like, it's kind of institutionalized. So like, as far as me socializing is concerned, I have to kind of narrow myself into a corner where I'm forced to do it, instead of it being something that happens naturally. And I also think it's a cultural thing, because culture, if anything, brings people together. So a good example of that would be, like, I did recently go to a gig, and it was someone that I knew who was in a band. I went to go support him. So yeah, like, everything was there in place, but they left without even saying bye. And it's kind of that's kind of the gist of it. It's like, I'm there, people have acknowledged me, and I've bantered, I've made jokes, made a few people laugh, but I wouldn't go as far as saying I've made a new friend. It's more like, I go there, I show my face, I do my part, and I go. It's like a job, and it kind of feels a bit empty and soulless, as opposed to how it used to be, where people were just with each other for the sake of it, or improvising a lot of the times. But that might just be me and the way things are for me. I wouldn't say that we're all going through that, because other people have different levels of what's around them. I was talking to someone today about like, richness isn't about money. Richness is about whether you can call someone and there's a car outside ready to pick you up, and if there's an open door and a cup of tea on the table for you. That's richness. If you haven't got that, then it's a bit of a struggle. So yeah, making new connections is difficult for me, at least. And I go on about it a lot, and people, it seems to be the most simple solution. Like, go out, do it again, but it becomes a casino. It's like I'm out there gambling every night, throwing my money on the table. And it wouldn't be physical money. I'm like currency as far as charm and enthusiasm is concerned. I'm throwing that all on the table, and I don't seem to get much back, because people seem to have, if people have got their own social circles or family circles or religious, whatever it be that connects them, I would have to be there consistently. They would have to see me every day. Do you know what I mean? There needs to be a consistency there to be able to join it, like, to be part of it. But I find that I just step in and out all the time of things, and I'm not there long enough for it to become something consistent. Yeah, it's not.
What can we do differently? What can be done differently to be there constantly? People are more kind of less open to friendship, or are they just sticking to their own circle?
I think people are motivated by money more than they used to be. So now it's more like, if you don't serve a purpose, like, people are looking to use you. That's what I think. Whether it be on a simple level or a complicated level, it doesn't matter. It's like they're sizing you up by your use to them. So if you're like, that's how I've felt for the past, like, I've only been in England for like going on nearly 4 years now. Before that, I was in Spain for 5 years, and I noticed a big difference because being away for 5 years and then coming back, I'm just talking about London here. Like, I'm not talking about the small towns or anything like that. But London itself, there seems to be less. You asked about how it could be better. I've tried to make it better. I've gone to the places that I like to go. I've seen the concerts that I like to see, but it's the bit afterwards where people hang around in little groups talking. You end up getting shut out. Do you know what I mean? So all these concerts and things that I've been to, I've gone alone, hoping that to get to vibe with some people, and then the night continues. Like, you're on a roll. Instead of just going somewhere, doing it, and then going home, I wanted to get a roll going, but I've never been able to get a roll going. The same thing with the yoga class yesterday. Went there, I got there early, so I got a good banter with the teacher. She chopped a bit of her thumb off, and she descriptively explained it as it's like biting into an olive with the seed there. That's what it looks like. And I was like, oh, I've never eaten an olive again. So so there was some jokes. It's not confidence that I'm lacking, but I would say that I'm lacking a bit of culture. I get jealous of people that are together and have a reason to be together. Like the gay community, they're doing really well. I see Muslims looking after each other as a family. And it's all very beautiful, but I feel a little bit jealous because I don't have access to those things. And I've often gone on about what it's like being mixed race, and that's a whole story in itself. But yeah, there's a loneliness that comes with it because you can't really, there's no bus I can jump on and everyone expects me there. If I jump on your bus, I get accepted and I can charm my way in, but it's not like I get invited home afterwards for the meal. Do you know what I mean? I have to go once it's over, sort of thing. So yeah, that's we could go back to that actually. So what would need to be improved? I think culture is an issue because now everything's become very cliquey. It's like if you enjoy a certain thing, there's a website for it. It's very narrow. I remember when I was a kid, when you was Top of the Pops is a good example. You remember Top of the Pops, right? Like, to watch that one song that you liked, you had to go through all the others. And even if you were taking the mick out of it or making fun of it, you still absorbed everything like it was a bigger picture. So, oh, look at that guy, he looks like a girl. Or, oh, look at them that I like, look at the way they're singing. But the idea was to take it all in. And then there's yours. When your song comes on, it's like, this is my song, this is how I identify myself. And everyone has their different ways. There's punk, there's rock, there's hip hop, there's all different people. But nowadays it's like you only watch what you like, and that's it. And then that's made everyone a bit cliquey, and it's very it's not an open horizon anymore. At least that's how I look at it. And to make it better, I think it has to go back to that original place where it's like, if you want to see music, you got to see all the music, and then you can pick what your favorite is, and you can get in groups afterwards and all that. But I like the idea of things being a bit more open, not as narrow, because especially with I'd like to talk about hip hop actually, because I used to be, when I was growing up, I really liked hip hop music, rock music and everything else, but I find hip hop is a good example of that now, because I feel like I've lost my connection to it. Whereas before it was more about bringing everyone together and it was a togetherness kind of thing, but now it seems to be music for them by them. And when I listen to it, and if they're not the songs I'm going to sing along to now, which it kind of like made me feel a bit shut out. Rock is still open to me. That's why I went to a rock gig the other day, and that felt fine. That's not changed. People are still the same. That's great. It's a bit messy sometimes for my liking, but otherwise it's all right. Like even yoga. The word yoga apparently means togetherness, but when I go to a yoga class, everyone comes as an individual and leaves as an individual. I don't get a chance to even talk to anyone after a class. It's like they've gone before I've even put my socks on. Do you know what I mean? And I get to talk to the teacher. It's usually the teachers I have a rapport with. So ideally, I'd like to go again to see the same teacher instead of seeing different teachers all the time. But yeah, so that's a good example to use. It's like we're doing things, we're doing the shape of it, but the substance isn't there. Yeah, something along those lines. Creativity. Oh, that's a brilliant question. Let me answer that. I feel like we live in a design. Like even when we go to the park, someone drew that Someone said there's going to be a tree here, there's a tree there. So how can you nurture creativity when you're living in someone else's picture and you can't change it? Yeah, like they would see us as a nuisance. Like you get people going there and like defiling the place, putting some crappy graffiti, throwing cigarette boxes and kebab boxes all over the place now. I'm not like that. I'm the kind of guy, if I go to a park and I sit on the bench and it's filthy, I'll clean it. And that's not that's not for anyone else's peace of mind, it's for my own. And but that level, like, so I can clean it, but I can't change it. I can't carve anything. And I can do stonemasonry. I took a course on how to carve stone, so I'm looking at like big slabs of concrete. Like I could turn that into a lion. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, so to nurture my creativity, you would have to let me have at least some effect on my environment. But I don't see it like that. And like when I get really kind of mentally ill, I feel like those walls have closed in on me, and I can't touch anything. Like I live in someone else's design, and I can't even if I was to like become a kind of Bob the Builder, put in some decking down, you know, those men that just are always doing something like that. I really respect that, but there's only so far you can go. Do you know what I mean? You have to own your property, you have to own this space, then you can do it. But me just being a normal guy who doesn't own anything, my family don't own anything, do you know what I mean? There's no businesses, there's no everyone rents. It's just kind of like, it's a bit drab because we can't really put anything out there, like, unless I do it illegally. So the only way I can imagine myself being creative is to go around graffitiing things, but actually doing a really good job of it. Like I can paint something amazing, but it's not often welcome. Unless like you get people that say, yeah, paint my shop. I'd like to, like, even if it was just a shutter to close the shop, yeah, paint it, go for it. But there doesn't seem to be enough people that is open to that kind of thing. It's only a few shops. Camden is a great place for that sort of stuff, because Camden is a place like, you know, it does support creativity and things like that. So maybe I'm just not getting out there. I need to like go check out a few more places. But I struggle to feel like I have the permission to be able to change something if I want to. Yeah, I could have articulated that better, but yeah, something along those lines, where it's like, what would I change? I think I've mentioned this before. I think that we're having a battle with nature. Like the pavement, for example. If you look between the lines on the pavement, there's something trying to grow through, and we keep killing it with chemicals and pushing it back. But I just think there's too much out there when it comes to someone else's design. That being, when someone owns land, they decide what's done with it. And a lot of people, for some reason, they really love pavement. And I think, like, if you was to count how many steps are taken on that particular pavement, not all of it is being used. So where there's a big, massive square or something that's like hardly anyone's walking on, get rid of the pavement and let the trees grow back up. Like, we need a bit more of that, because I find that my creativity is more inspired when I'm in places that are natural, that's been formed by, you know, whatever you want to call it, God, water, like real natural stuff instead of just man-made. Basically, living in a man-made, military-engineered world kind of makes me feel a bit sick and uncreative. It's detrimental to my creativity, actually. I don't feel like I can take something and turn it into something else. And this, the whole consumer culture we have, I get lost sometimes because I have a great idea, but I have to get all the tools to get it. So it becomes more about the materialism of it, and I get lost. Like, by the time I've bought the thing and all the tools for it, it's the pursuit of buying those tools that kind of takes away the magic. So a lot of people often say that to me as well. When you go to university as an artist, it doesn't nurture your creativity. Like, you look at your book in the beginning and it's colourful, it's beautiful, and then you look at the book at the end and it's just advertising and silhouettes, and like, it kind of sucks the life out of it. So yeah, I don't know how to nurture creativity. There's probably loads. That's what I mean. It's like it's an overabundance. So for me to feel like there's nothing out there when there's loads, that's an issue within itself. Because have I come across? I was more likely to come across something like that in Spain. When I was living in Spain, all I had to do was walk past like a building and there's someone spray painting something, and you can just go up to them and say, "Hey, like, did you get permission to do this?" Or no, just doing it. Like, you know what I mean? A bit more of a free mentality. And there were no police hassling him. He got to do the whole piece, and I sat there and watched him do the whole thing, and I just thought it was amazing. And like, to do that here, everything's owned, everything's someone else's property. Not everyone is open to having their building colourful. Like, they don't want it like that. They want it to be whatever purpose it serves. And I find that a bit cold and empty. It's like, look at McDonald's, how it used to look. Like, there was cartoon characters, there was the hamburger, there was Ronald McDonald. It was all, even though they've changed it and they realised that they were doing wrong for marketing to children, it's still a good example to use, because if you look at it then as it is now, I feel like everything's kind of taken that turn where it's become more corporate and it's less colourful, less likely. Even films, even the movie industry is suffering. And to me, music as well, it's like a lot of things have had like the imagination sucked out of it, and now it's just logical. So it's like fantasy posing as... No, it's like logic posing as fantasy. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. It's like, and it's not the true, genuine version of itself. Like, for me, it has to be logical and something else has to be in it as well. So, but it doesn't always work like that. So I've heard like Healthy Minds is a good place. I've only done a few sessions with Healthy Minds and Mind in Camden. I really got a lot of good things to say about them, because out of all the therapies and stuff I've done and all the doctors I've seen, they're the only ones that actually seem to be efficient in what they're doing. Everything else seems to be overlooked, underlooked, lazily. Like, I even had a go at one of my therapists. I won't say who they were for. They're not existent no more. They've been shut down. But I just said, like, I don't see an application. An application of a method. It's like, I've mentioned to them, like, there's loads of videos on the internet of dogs being rehabilitated and on the brink of death, or they're biting and they're aggressive and all that. But there's a simple formula to like help them out, and it's usually about taking them out of a man-made environment, putting them somewhere a bit more natural, and then introducing them to other dogs. And like, these people that are doing that are very attentive, you know what I mean? They know to introduce the little dogs first, and then the medium ones, and then the big ones. They do these things very attentively. And then when it comes to like looking after people with mental health problems, there's nothing like that applied at all. And it's probably the same formula that's going to help us that helps the dogs. It's exactly the same. It's just a bit of love, a bit of attention, put in the right place. If they can see that, like, you're a product, because we're all products of our environment. Even water is. Like, there's those experiments that Japanese doctor did that proved that water has a sensitivity beyond our understanding. Like, if you leave a bottle of water with a monk all day and then afterwards look at the molecular structure of the water, it will be like a beautiful snowflake. But if you left some dirty water somewhere else, it will be almost rotten, sort of thing. So like, water itself has a consciousness, so to speak. So I find that fascinating. And so if we are 80% water and everything's that sensitive and all it takes is a thought from our body to react, what kind of environment are we building when everything's so solid? And it's like, you can break yourself on that pavement. If you walk on that pavement long enough, your joints will start to weaken. Like, nature had its way of looking after us. Like, think about how food tastes nice. Like, you eat an apple, that's not man-made. I'm just scared of this man-made thing, because apparently in Japan now they've made a 3D printed steak, so they can 3D print food now, and they're gonna con us basically, because it's not going to be real meat, but it's going to look exactly like real meat, down to the gristle, the bone, everything. And they're already making boats like that, like life-size boats with the engines and everything. Like, that 3D printing thing is kind of scary, because we won't see like builders, humans, scaffolding. Like, that method is going to be a thing of the past. Now it's just going to be a machine going left, right, left, right, left, right, boom, there's an apartment complex. But those people that are profiting on it, I don't know, that's another story. I was in a room full of millionaires the other day, and they're all talking about building up hotels and luxury apartments. It's just like, how the hell, like, people like me can't afford that sort of stuff. Even if I worked really hard for the next 5 years, I still couldn't afford that. Like, a CEO makes in a week what I would make in a lifetime. So there's a big separation of wealth and stuff like that. And we're trying to talk about creativity here, but I keep sucking it back into this horrible cold world. But that's what I think is detrimental to my creativity. So yeah, I keep mentioning that, and no one wants to acknowledge that most of the time. Every time I've brought that up to my therapist, like, I'm sick because I live in someone else's design. Let me go back to a beginning, a base where I can work with it. Like, but nah, it's too late now. It's already been built up. You're a part of it, and then I don't feel like it gives me back anything that I'm interested in. I feel like I'd gain more from sitting among nature than I would spending a whole year in the city. Then everyone tells me to get out, go somewhere more natural, but it's just like, I don't know. There's a reason why we're here. I keep spinning around. Like, I feel like two people. One of them wants to stay, one of us wants to go, but we have to kind of find a middle ground. I hated lockdown. I was having that issue before the lockdown. Like, I was listening to everyone else outside laughing. That whole thing about everyone being cliquey and all that, I was already going through that before lockdown. So lockdown just made it 100% worse. Because, for example, in my building, so for the whole of 2020, we was infested with ants crawling all over us while we were sleeping. You couldn't leave a cup of tea like, if you had a cup of tea and then finished it and left it on the table for 5 minutes, it would have been swarmed. So this happened for the better part of 2020, and then slowly all our rights started being taken away, in a sense. Like, I know we're homeless and stuff like that, and we don't have any rights apparently, but like, so we weren't allowed visitors. We had an ant infestation. It was other things piling up it was just things piling up on top of each other. So where I would look out my window and see the buildings opposite me, and I'm aware that it's a national lockdown, not even national, global lockdown. Everyone's supposed to be in their homes and not come out. I'm seeing people having visitors, having parties in front of me, and I'm like, that's fine. I'm not going to tell on them, but it's like, why am I over here with no visitors, got ants crawling all over me? My rank in life is very low. Like, so lockdown was crap. Like, I lost my girlfriend because of it. Like, the whole thing just made everything very inconvenient. The visitor thing was hard to take. I hated not having visitors because it's like, it's kind of important. But it's back to what I was saying. If you're someone that doesn't have a solid family structure or a big social circle, or even friends from your last job, like, you know how I said that I struggle keeping people or following through? It's like, I meet people for a single serving purpose, and it's full of substance. Don't get me wrong, I can get substance out of people, they can get substance out of me, but it's very unlikely that I'm going to get invited to a wedding. It's very unlikely that there's going to be a barbecue to look forward to. It's like, no one really wants to invite me in, even though on the outside I'm liked or whatever and this and that. It doesn't feel real anymore. So I'm doing all these things like going to yoga classes and this and that, but it just doesn't feel like there's any substance to it, despite how much I put into it. I make some great jokes, I make the whole room laugh, and it's still, it just doesn't feel like I exist. The best way to explain it is I struggle to remain relevant, even to myself. Like, I have to really push my face into it. And I'm not like that. I don't like to overexert myself. I'm usually quite shy. Taking pictures. That wasn't the last question, was it? How many more?
Do you think is anything happening in the community or within the community that you know of or you're part of?
Don't know, the word community to me, like, okay, so let's narrow it down to Camden. I haven't got my fingers in as many pies in Camden as I'd like to have. Like, I'm slowly building that up now, and I'm sure that, like, if I was, I'd feel a bit richer in myself. Are we trying to wrap up now? Is it over? Okay, all right. So, Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there seems to be some activity in the control room. See, I told you I don't shut up. I'll carry on, right?
What we're gonna do, ask him like a finishing question, so we wrap it up. So I have that. I can chop it up, and then move on to you. Yeah.
Okay. What is,
got like another extra.
what is a wrap-up question?
No, it's the same question you asked him. It's the same question on topic 2 that she'll be talking now from her perspective. That's all.
No, I mean for you.
When I mean by wrap-up question, maybe talk about the future. What is there anything he's looking forward to, maybe, or like maybe just to get him to wrap up? So I would say spend an extra 45 seconds just to.
Okay.
If it means you even giving out your Instagram or whatnot, yeah, just whatever.
All right, cool. Yeah, so we'll just finish it.
Do you know anything that's happening within the community, or anything that you can be part of, anything you're looking forward to? Like, lockdown is over and everything is becoming a bit normal now.
I shouldn't say that there ain't no things out there. There's plenty of things out there. It's just if this is the focus on, if we're focusing on mental health here, there is a block in my head. I'm enthusiastic about doing everything. I want to go to a martial arts class. I want to go to a yoga class. I want to go swimming. And it's not even about making the friends. Sometimes it's just about going out there and doing things and staying active. But every now and then in my head, because the best way to put this is what I really want to say, is like people can go far when they feel protected, even on their own. They don't need those people with them, but it's a mental thing. It's like a supportive thing. It's like you can't really, like the people that I found to be brave know that they have someone they can call to back them up, whereas I feel like I'm shooting, like the best way I put it is I'm shooting myself out of a cannon every day without even setting up the net first. So I can have a great day, I can save a baby from a burning building today, but when I go back home and sit down, I will not feel any pride, I will not feel any happiness, not even sorrow. It's just kind of this empty feeling that even if you attack it and like go get through it and cook some nice food and look after yourself and get all your chores done and go out and do a yoga class, it seems to be hard to actually stick to something when it just slips out your hands so easily. So I would say that the people that have like established themselves, it's easier for them to move around this city. A lot of them are running rampage, you know what I mean? Some people are really too overly protected. There's some people out there that are running amok that really shouldn't be, like, but they're too confident for their own good and this and that. And it's just, I get a bit jealous of that, I guess. But yeah, should we stop now? I told you I won't shut up otherwise. I could carry on.
No, you're very good at
I don't want you to shut up. What's it up?
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes of Spk Our Minds podcast.